Hi, this is Moriah Wicker and Cassie DW with KW here in Plymouth.
Welcome to Selling the South Shore, Real Estate in Real Life.
Whether you're looking to buy, sell, or live like a local, we've got you covered. Let's dive into today's topic.
All right, so getting into today's topic, we've been talking to a lot of sellers lately, and they've been asking, since all the changes in the industry, what is the value of paying a buyer's agent?
Yeah, definitely. So, first and foremost, as we have to say, commissions are negotiable and always have been, just like your pay with your employer is negotiable.
Yeah.
So, you want to think about that. And when you come to decide selling your home, we're going to give you advice on the best list price, what repairs you should make. Should you stage it? Should you do a small project? And the same goes for should you or shouldn't you offer cooperative compensation to a buyer's agent, and why do sellers choose to do so?
Yeah.
So we're gonna, share with you some facts just about buyers in general. So it kind of helps paint the picture for you how many buyers out there are working with agents.
Yeah. So looking at some data from NAR back in 2024, 89% of buyers actually purchased their home through a real estate agent or broker. Yeah. So about 90% of the people out there are going to have someone representing them.
I will say, I am willing to bet that other 10% were people who might have been agents themselves that were foregoing, the commission on their property that they were purchasing. Because every home I've sold, there has been a buyer's agent on the other side, and if there wasn't, there's been maybe a handful of times those people were agents themselves making a purchase.
Or attorneys.
Yeah, or attorneys.
I had an attorney once, so.
Absolutely.
And then buyers who would use their agent again or recommend their agent to others is 90%.
Yeah.
So most of the people out there are doing a good job. People, they've seen the value in using an agent and will refer them to others or will use an agent again.
And keep in mind, this is based on 2024. So this is the market we're in now. So this isn't like, oh, I feel like my buyer's agent got me a deal and that's why I perceive them to be valuable. It's my agent helped me find a home. They're the ones that, yes, we market your home as listing agents. We help sell your home, but we depend on the buyer's agents. So if I have a home that isn't selling on the market, the first thing I do is go into MLS, look up the reverse matches, and I reach out to all the agents with matches. And that's how I've been able to get some showings. And maybe they don't have a buyer right away, but they at least help me bring someone in the door to give some feedback for what the general public thinks about the property, the pricing, or what they want to see for improvements.
Definitely.
So it's not that these people, I'm speaking in my own professional opinion here, not facts.
Yeah.
But that the 90% that would use their agents again, it's because there was a value in working with them, because they were the ones that explained things to them. They educated them on the difference between natural gas, propane, or oil. It's the ones that explained the life of a roof. It's the ones that connected them with their lender, their attorney, their painter. It's all of those things. It's not because people got a deal. I mean, the national average is still well over, 99% list to sale ratio. So it's not that these agents came in and, took the seller to the cleaner by any means. That's not their role.
No, definitely. And honestly, something even to say with that is the role of a buyer's agent, it's also not to just find them a house.
Right.
It's knowing everything. It's knowing the market. It's knowing from A to Z what it is to own a home and being able to be that voice of reason, that guidance for these people in order to make the best decision for them.
It's answering the question, what do I have to do to get this house?
Yep.
And then explaining to the buyer, what does a strong offer look like? Because how many times we have a buyer come in and say, oh, I want to put in a good offer. Let's go 5 over asking. And you're going to say, that's not going to cut it.
Nope. And then, unfortunately, how many times have you had a buyer lose out on an offer and say, I wish I had offered more after we've had those conversations? So
exactly.
It's, when you're choosing a professional, somebody that is working in this market day in, day out, putting in the work that it needs, they know what it's going to take in order to get you where you want to go.
Yeah, and like we were saying before shooting this video, it's not HGTV. It's not, I'm a listing agent, you're a buyer's agent, and we're competing head to head, and I'm a seller and you're a buyer and we're trying to win. we're all working together towards a common goal. You want to buy a house, I want to sell a house. Let's agree on terms that we both feel are fair and move forward together and get to the closing table. It is not, the Patriots versus the Rams here.
Yeah.
So I think that mindset for some people, you're not paying someone to negotiate against you. You're paying a professional to help sell your home.
Yeah, definitely. KW has a big saying, win-win or no deal. And especially on our team, we truly believe in that. All working together to make sure we get our people what they need.
You don't want the buyer coming back and hitting you with a lawsuit because, something wasn't disclosed, or they didn't understand, or they felt like they got raked over. And same thing, sellers, same thing. They don't want to end up coming back and feeling that they weren't treated fairly.
No. And then the next part of it, not just about finding the home or knowing the process, but 80% of buyers finance their purchase, and of them on average, put down about 15%.
Yeah.
So not even thinking of the home process, you also have this entire finance piece that, a buyer's agent really understands different loans, VA loans, what it takes for inspections, FHA, conventional.
Yeah.
There's a lot that goes into understanding these loans and what's needed in a house.
Right. It's not only 20% of these are cashed, quick and easy deals. 80% of them have intricate parts that require, like you said, a professional to be involved. What about the part about first-time buyers?
Oh, I missed that one. So 32% of the market is actually first-time buyers.
Yeah, it's 1/3 of the market.
Yeah. And how many first-time buyers do you think are going out there without agents? I'd love to see the percentage.
Right, exactly. I know. I'm not trying to, hurt anyone's feelings, but quite honestly, first-time buyers don't even know how to change an air filter. Okay?
Yeah.
So it's critical that they have an advocate and a coach to get them from A to B.
Yep. So you don't know what you don't know, and you don't have to feel
It's
bad
okay
about
if they
it.
don't know.
Yeah.
Right.
But the reason why you have professionals in this role is because we do know, and we're able to guide through the process.
Absolutely.
And then as of August 17th of this year, buyers actually can't go preview a house with a buyer's agent without a signed buyer's agreement.
Right. And if 90% of people are working with agents and have, just like we meet with our sellers for a one-on-one, we meet with our buyers for a one-on-one, we're in contract with all of our buyers. So if 90% of the buyers are working with agents and already have agreed to pay them a fee, that's potentially eliminating 90% of your pool.
On our team, our advice is really taking a look at what you want out of the sale and really looking at the numbers to see what makes sense for you. But when it comes to wanting somebody else on the other side, I honestly don't see too many negatives.
Right.
Like the positives that you're gonna get out of it, I think are definitely gonna outweigh the cost.
Right. Oh, definitely. Let's look at this example we have here. So again, by potentially eliminating 90% of buyers, and it's not that the agents are steering them away from those properties, there's already an agreement in place that if I'm your buyer and you're my buyer's agent, we've agreed on a fee that I have to pay you no matter what.
Yeah.
So if I look at the properties, my buyers are asking me, do we know if this property is offering cooperative compensation? Because if they're not, we want to move on to a different property. It's putting a additional cost on your property that the buyer isn't interested in paying for. Just roll it in, just increase your purchase price by whatever it is that you want to offer compensation for. But if they go into it with the mindset that there's an additional cost, it's just like if you have a failed septic that the buyer has to pay for. Buyers all the time will look at that and say, pass.
Yep.
Don't
want to do
failed heating system, pass.
Roof.
I gotta pay my agent out of pocket, pass.
Yeah.
Just roll it in, pick your price, as long as it's within its market value, and offer compensation. It's a no-brainer.
Yeah, definitely. And then honestly, I feel the most important part is the buying process is such an emotional process.
Right.
I know we've worked with many buyers that have wouldn't have gotten to the finish line without us, let me put it that way. So I know you've recently had a couple deals happen that, almost blew up at the last minute. And
literally like on the day of closing.
Yeah. So what happened there?
Yeah, so I've got two stories that definitely for me are like, had I not been there to talk someone off the ledge and explain to them the big picture of the situation, they could have lost that deal and then been in jeopardy with the seller. We're not, allowed to tell a buyer what exactly to do, but we give them advice on the details and the facts, and we provide a filter between their emotions and what's a good decision for them financially.
Yep.
So I had a situation where a buyer of mine, her boss or a friend or whatever, had said, we were purchasing in winter and there was no grass you couldn't see any grass because it was covered in snow. So then by the time closing came up, it was kind of like just dirt,
Yeah.
And the buyer was like, well, I'm expecting grass.
Yeah.
And their person had said to them, well, ask for $1,000 for the seller to do the lawn. And the seller lost it because when they pulled up the old pictures, it looked like a, Jumanji jungle before. So in their mind, were delivering the property beautifully. All you need is some seed and you'll be good in a couple of months. The listing agent called me because I didn't know that the buyer made this request. They asked the attorney to make the request for them. The listing agent called me like, what are you talking about? My seller's freaking out. He's not going to sign if this is, something the buyer's going to fight for.
Yeah.
And it makes animosity that's not necessary, because what if 2 months later you need to ask the seller a question? They don't want to talk to you because you almost blew up their deal the day of closing.
Yeah.
There's no reason to bring in, now if someone's being a jerk, of course but don't bring animosity into a transaction that is unnecessary. Big picture, it's not worth it. Definitely not worth it.
And there are things on final walkthrough days that are then
on
the flip side, as buyer's agents, we're like, all right, we might want to look into this.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah. A blown hot water heater that goes the morning of closing. I've had that happen. I've been on the sell side, and the buyer's agent was totally justified in advocating and asking for that repair.
Yeah.
So the other one, the big one, this was just recently, the seller had removed their personal property, their picture frames and all their stuff. And when they did that, obviously there's some holes in the walls, and the seller's responsibility is to fill those holes to a certain degree within their reasonable ability. They're not expected to, do new sheetrock. They're not expected to repaint the whole entire house.
Yeah.
But they need to patch those holes. Now, this seller, maybe did it at 2:00 in the morning, frantically packing, and it wasn't a great patch job. She had put too much on and kind of spread it around and smeared the walls a little bit, and it was not good.
Yeah.
However, my client wanted the entire first floor repainted, essentially, and that would have been, it's about $700-800 a room to repaint.
Yeah.
Plus some additional costs on top of that. There were, 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 rooms. So, we were talking $5,000, and that is not really within the terms of the contract what's expected of the seller. It's not supposed to look like new construction. Of course, it shouldn't look as maybe terrible as the seller left it. So there was a space where we could have met common ground, but by jumping the gun to asking for $5,000, it put the seller off, and my client almost didn't sign. They said, we're not going to sign the paperwork. Now, they had $32,000 in deposit money already in escrow for the seller.
Yep.
If they had not signed that paperwork, they would have lost that deposit. Not only that, but the seller most likely, and based on what I in talks with the listing agent, I'm quite positive they would have sued my client for non-performance, because they were making a purchase that day also on another property. So not only would they not have been able to sell their house, but they also would have not been able to purchase the other house that they were trying to sell.
Wow.
So big picture from my client, is it worth fighting over $5,000 when you potentially are going to lose $32,000 and get sued? No, but they really had a hard time with that. Now, thankfully, I had a handyman that I know very well that at a discount was able to go over for me. He was able to sand down the patchwork, redo the patchwork, match the color a little bit better, go over the paint and do the spot work as a favor for me. Again, had I not been there to talk my client down on what the situation was, and then had the network of people that, whether owe me favors or whatever, come in and do that, they really would have been in a bad place. Now, fast forward, they had some questions, like I said, following up for the seller. The seller wanted no part in answering those questions after closing, because they didn't get to close on their other house till the next day.
Oh, no.
So they had had a whole bunch of moving expenses and problems that came about. So again, whether that seller knows it or not, thank God for me.
Yeah.
Because that would have been really bad. Because they could have then been sued for non-performance on their side.
Yeah. Wow.
So, yeah.
So it's, you know, again, and I've been talking to a couple clients recently, and it's always the question of why use an agent? And the same thing for sale by owners. Like, why use an agent? It's professionals put in the work to understand the market. They understand the process. They build these teams around them to try to make things as smooth as possible. And without that, like, I would never, I mean, I do some DIY projects at home, but anything big, I
I'm
would
not touching
never.
my electrical.
No, I'm never going to touch the electrical, plumbing.
Yeah.
You know, I cut a couple holes in the wall and threw some shelves in, but.
And how long is that taken?
It's still not done. I started in January.
And if you had hired someone?
Probably would have been done in 3 days. So,
so right, like you get what you pay for at
Exactly,
some point.
yeah.
And there are, like you said, there's jobs that you do and you can do. But I mean, even like I've gone into some homes that are now on the market who people did projects during COVID.
Yeah.
And they're so bad. They're really bad. Like you can just tell, and clients are walking away from those properties because they're like, a homeowner clearly did this while they were bored during COVID, and I need to have a finished carpenter come in here and go room by room, and it's going to cost me a ton of money because you got to undo, redo.
Yep.
So, I mean, that's a good point.
Definitely. So, you know, with our team, we have that, you know, kind of team built around us. And
well, at the end of the day, sellers have choices on what they want to do. Just like, again, we have advice on how you should price your home, if you should make repairs or not, and we also have advice on if you should offer cooperative compensation. And at the end of the day, it's your choice on what you want to do, and we'll find out moving forward if, you know, homes that are offering cooperative compensation sit longer or sell for less versus ones that are offering it. We don't have that data yet, but what I'm feeling boots on the ground in the first month is that the homes that are offering cooperative compensation are more marketable to buyers that have agents.
Yeah.
We know 90% of buyers have agents.
Definitely, yeah. So, awesome. Well, if you guys have any questions, want to talk about this, or want to go preview some homes, definitely give us a like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff, and tune in next week for whatever next week's topic brings.
Thanks.